but it also, I feel like, counts as somewhat of a con because I feel like the environmental dangers are there again added. I mean, are there to again.
Oh, this is horrible. Oh, this is horrible.
Hello and welcome back to my channel. It has been a while since I last posted, but truth be told, I was not confident in the quality of stuff that I was putting out. So I did some studying, did some learning, got a little bit better, and getting right back to it. Completely honest, unbiased review of Biomutant. So if you missed my my gameplay, feel free to head to my twitch.tv/andyspeaks_ to catch my full 17 plus hours of gameplay. So I am going to basically be going about this by grading it on 6 different criteria that I believe should be focused on open world RPGs. So that's going to be gameplay, that's going to be including combat, crafting, and whatever other type of gameplay the game itself chooses to incorporate. Then I'm going to be looking at the environment, the story, the performance, especially for the launch day, quests, and replayability. And at the end of all that, I will give you an average score so you can decide for yourself if you want to pick this up. Let's, without further ado, let's hop right into that. So first we're going to look at the combat. And I got to say, right off the bat, it is fun. It's pretty quick. It's interesting because you can definitely play around and create your own, I should say, like combos. You can really get creative with your range, your melee, and more specifically your magic attacks. I believe they call them psi abilities, but for lack of a better term, they're magic attacks. But there's one problem. All of those things feel really, really weightless. And I mean, it's to the point where it's like you'll be in the middle of a combo and an enemy can just freely attack you, even though you're doing pretty substantial damage to them. And that's pretty unfortunate. Now, it's not to say that the combat is all bad. It's just, again, it just has that weightlessness behind it. And if you're somebody who really enjoys, feeling the impact of your attacks, you're gonna be pretty disappointed in that department. But I can say that thankfully the boss fights are pretty entertaining. Each one kind of has like their own platform-esque type level where you're just in an arena with the boss and they have their phases and their moves that they do in their phases. Good old stuff. But as you can probably see here, with those big guys that you get up and close with, you are going to have some clipping with their body, and that might, really annoy you. I'm kind of used to dumb stuff like that, so I would let it slide. So without giving too much away, you are going to have 4 main, I wouldn't call them side bosses, but you're going to have 4 main bosses beside, the big baddie, who I'm not going to really spoil in case you really want to play this game. If you want those spoilers, feel free to check out my Twitch. You have 4 main guys, and they're called the World Eaters, and you can kind of come at them at your own pace. This first one is kind of, mandatory, and they each have their own special intro, except for the first one, which I'm not sure if it was maybe my game bugged out on that. So here you can see the Porky Puff. Probably, if you can tell by my reaction down there. Yeah, that was quite an entrance. Buggy, I would say. Here you have the Merc Puff, which was by far definitely one of my favorite boss fights. My more favorite ones. Here you have the Hoof Puff. And here you have the Jumbo Puff, which kind of looks like he was ripped from Temple Run. It looks like those mutated gorilla apes from Temple Run. You see, it's too uncanny. And then, oh wait, whoa, don't wanna give that away just yet. And then yeah. I guess that would basically have to do everything to do with the combat. The game also has this other feature that they, they call puzzles, but let's just take a look at those things. It's not something I'd really call a difficult puzzle by any means. Let's look at this other one. Yeah. Get comfortable with constantly doing those very simple, basic color puzzles, because that's really all this game has to offer when it comes to puzzles. And I don't see why they went through the time and effort to put in those puzzles when realistically it doesn't really add any difficulty or excitement to the game. It kind of just is just there for no other better reason but just to be there, in my opinion, to add fluff time to the playtime of the game. And here's a little snippet of the boss battle for the Merc Puff, which just so happens to be my favorite. Here we go. So as you can see, it's pretty different from the first boss battle. The first boss battle that you saw with the Porky Puff. This one's underwater, probably the best and the most entertaining boss battle out of all of them, like by far, like even more fun than the main boss, the Lupin, whatever his name is. This is just like, this right here should have been the standard of how they had their boss fights. Like, this should have been the first one and then it gotten better, but it's just in the mix. You kind of come across it at your own pace. Yeah, so overall gameplay, I'm giving that a 6. And yeah. But I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. Here is the crafting. It's attack, speed, I'm gonna listen to my first impression whatever here. Stats it has, you're increasing that while also improving the aesthetics. This is where a lot of games fall flat or fall short when it comes to crafting weapons, is being able to not only make the weapon and then make it better, but you can make it look cooler too. Like, I know it sounds small and insignificant, but like it's the little things that really make a game. So as you can see, I think I cut that off short. Sorry. As you can see, I really enjoyed the crafting. Here's an example of what you can start out with and what you can end up with within this crafting feature for this game. As you can see, you really like it's almost like just creating an entirely new weapon based off of the foundation of a previous weapon that you have. So it's like, yeah, you're improving it, but are you improving it or actually changing? Now, oops, sorry, wrong one. Now, I will say though, for the crafting, besides its pros, which, I mean, for me, it would have to be the fact that this is probably the best feature in the game. And that's a good thing and kind of a bad thing, because usually in open world RPGs, action RPGs especially, the main focus should be the story and the combat along with the crafting. The crafting should be secondary. It seems like the crafting in this game was the primary focus. That and little world details. But I kind of wish they carried that inspiration and that hard work into the combat to fix, like I said, that weightlessness, that lack of impact that you feel like you have while playing this game. It's not just me. Look, you can look at any review, anybody speaking about it. That's just what it feels like, unfortunately. The cons would definitely just have to be that it's hard to pick what you want to make. That and the fact that the crafting materials that you need are mostly going to be found in resource totems. It's just stockpiles of either scrap or rubber, which they call rubby, and wood, just scattered throughout the world. Either that or disassembling previous weapons that you have found or built. But I feel like that's just very lackluster. I feel like opponents should definitely drop more crafting components. But you also do find, a good amount in looting, but the looting, oh boy, we'll get to that in just a second. So, yeah, the crafting, that I put that with my gameplay. So again, that's a 6 for the overall gameplay. Now, let's head into environment. So as you can see here, it looks really good. I really enjoy how this world looks and how much variety they put into their game. Well, in their game world, superficially at least, because it's really pretty on the surface, but once you start looking into it, we'll get to that in just a minute. But as you see here, there is definitely some very, very good variety. This biohazard area is probably one of my more favorites. There's a lot more variety, but I just don't want to spoil it, for people who want to go ahead and enjoy this themselves. Now, before I go into the cons, oh yeah, I'm sorry, I almost glazed right over. Thankfully, I have my notes here. So yeah, beyond the variety and how good it looks, there are real environmental dangers. But it also, I feel like, counts as somewhat of a con, because I feel like the environmental dangers are there again added. Are there to again.
Oh, this is horrible. Oh, this is horrible.
Add fluff and padding to the game time. And yeah, it's disappointing, because it's like almost everywhere you look, it feels like what they're doing is just trying to add playtime. Make that playtime number as big as they possibly can. And I'll explain that. I'll explain that in the cons, though. Let's go right there. So for the environment, here is one of the biggest issues that I have, and I'll let myself, my past self, explain this. We're not there yet, so I'll just talk over it. A lot of the areas are just copy and pasted, flat out. I'm not really gonna sugarcoat it or delve too deep into that. It's just copy and paste galore here. As you can see, look, this is my past self noticing the copy and paste galore. All the way the fuck back over here. Oh no, that's the new place that I just took over. It is literally a copy and paste. So yeah, as you can see, at first I thought that after overtaking the second outpost, I thought it took me back to the first one that I started at. No, it was actually a second one, but it was just identical to the first. And they do this for every group of outposts. Here, as you can see, I'm going back to show you. Again, if you want to catch this stuff live, visit that Twitch. Stop plugging yourself. And I almost gave it the benefit of the doubt here. And if you were paying attention and you noticed, look, they're in the same spots, NPCs. Yeah, not really what I would call good level designing. As you heard me probably repeat myself there, it's just lazy, lazy and weak. I mean, come on, man. So there are different tribes, and each tribe has 4 outposts, and each tribe's outposts are all mirror images of themselves. Not even mirror images, exact carbon copies of themselves. From the inside of the outpost to the trenches that all the outposts have before you reach the outpost, all of them are copy and pasted. And actually, the trenches are for all the tribes are all copy and pastes of the same one foundation, with the second and third, I believe, having slight tweaks to it, but it's basically the same exact thing. And this is where I mentioned this is where the suit thing comes in. So each area, not each one, but every so often you'll come across an area that has an environmental danger. In order to continue into that area, you need to find the corresponding suit. The problem with that is, so you have to first enter an area that requires a suit. Then you get a quest marker telling you, okay, you now have to find a ping dish to find the suit that you need to enter this area. So then you go and you find the ping dish, and then it's another silly little puzzle, and it tells you the area of the suit. Then you have to go there and collect the suit. When I was trying to fight, I believe, a jumbo puff, and it was in a hypoxia area, like my pathway to get there. And so I go there and I start the quest. After the ping dish for finding the oxygen suit, which is the one you need for the hypoxia, I believe, I needed another suit to get to that suit. Whoa! It was in an area that had high temperatures, so it was hot. I couldn't even make it to the suit. I tried multiple times to go to the suit without the other suit that I needed and see if I can just grab it and just hop right out of there. Nope. So in order to get that suit, in order to fight the last jumbo puff, I had to start the quest to find that suit, go there, either already have the heat suit or arrive there, then start a whole nother quest line, which is a carbon copy of the first two quest lines, to then find this suit, to then go and get the other suit, so that then I can go to the area that I originally wanted to. All of that took like an hour and a half, 2 hours. Fluff. That's fluff. It is annoying, and I don't like it. And then also, to add to the copy and pasting, a lot of the rooms that are copy and pasted, the loots that you find is in the same exact spot. So for example, the trenches, they all start out the same way. It's a pathway down the middle, and then two pathways coming around, kind of linking up like a MOBA, right? So you walk down the middle, there's a door to your right. If you go around the sides, if you go around the left side, there's a door to your right halfway through the circle, the semicircle, and then if you go to the right, there is a door on the left halfway through to the semicircle. And each room was a carbon copy of all the other rooms, and the loot was in the same exact chest, in the same exact spot, in the same exact room. Every single time. Imagine doing that for 17 hours. So, environment, overall, I give that a 5. So, story. Now, the pros for the story is that it attempts at being unique and somewhat creative. And I will acknowledge that. There was real potential here. But it kind of really falls flat. And that I'll get to the reason why in the cons, but it's because of the narration. So yeah, that's basically all the pros for the story. Yeah, trying to be creative. Yeah, so far it's not looking that great. So the cons would have to definitely be the incessant narration. Now, if you don't believe me, if there are people out there saying that is not true, do not believe them. And here, I'm going to give you some proof as to why the narration is so annoying. And let me explain it first. So every time you speak to an NPC, they speak in their gibberish first, right? They have a line of dialogue of gibberish. Then the narrator translates that. Then they have another line of gibberish, and then the narrator translates that. And then they have another line of gibberish, and then the narrator translates that. So those 3 lines have now become 6 lines of dialogue. Fluff. So they have this nifty little feature, right? And I'm going to show you this. They have this nifty little feature where you can shut off the narrator, right? The frequency, turn it to 0 and the gibberish to 100. Check this out.
Noko is always willing to help.
Whoa, what? The gibberish and narration still happens the same exact way. And here, look, I put the narration all the way up to 100, the frequency, and all the way down to 0 for the gibberish. And check this out. It's still
Noko is always willing to.
Now, why even bother putting that feature in there if it's not really going to change anything? had that worked, I probably would not have given this story rating a lower a lower grade. And I really don't like the fact that most of the dialogue is going to be copy and pasted as well. For a lot of the repeat fetch quests, the dialogue is going to be every time you speak to a new NPC and they give you a similar fetch quest, you're going to notice that the dialogue sounds kind of familiar. And it's because it seems like all the NPCs copied each other's dialogue and then they switched it up just a little bit so that the freaking game developers wouldn't notice. You know, like, that's kind of the best example that I can give you. It's just repetition of the same dialogue lines with slight changes over and over and over again. It's the same way that the loot locations are copy and pasted and the outposts are copy and pasted. You get the idea. And another thing that I kind of didn't like was the lack of lore loot, or what I call lore loot. And what I mean by lore loot is documents, items, relics, anything basically that would give you an insight into the history of the world. Now, it's not to say that there are none, because there definitely are. But what you're getting is mostly this. And for lack of a better term, it's kind of annoying. It's just really not all of that interesting. I'm glad that I was able to get some insight, but it's all very generic, wishy-washy stuff. You know, oh, humans are polluting and they destroyed our ecosystem, and that caused this. And then on the next one you find, oh, it's because of this company's destruction of the ecosystem and it caused this. Are you seeing the pattern here? A lot of copy and pasting. Now let's get into so my grading for the story would definitely be a 5 in my opinion. So let's get into performance. Surprisingly, it performed pretty well for, you know, a launch day, for launch day performance. Definitely no cyberpunk incident here. This was a pretty solid performance by today's standards, though. I should tell you, by today's standards, you know, it was pretty solid performance. Really, nothing really of substantialness to mention, except for maybe like the missing of sounds in the combat. Yeah, sometimes the combat sounds don't come through, so it gets quiet. But I'm pretty sure that'll be fixed soon, if not already, by the time of this recording. But I did experience some bugs, and I just wanted to share with you one that I thought was freaking hilarious. So as you see here, I got stuck in this floating animation, and yeah, it really wasn't that fun. I mean, it was funny, but I couldn't get it to correct itself without going back and, you know, reloading my save file. You see me there trying to struggle, see if maybe if I press the menu it'll refix it, but no. But I did find a way to actually finish the boss battle. You see, I had to double jump and then, or jump and double jump to attack, and that was how I was able to end up finishing this boss fight. It took a total of like, I think like 2 or 3 minutes for me to be able to finish it with that bug. And as you see, even after the battle, it's still active. Oh man, yeah, man. If you want to catch this good stuff, feel free to catch that on you know what. So as you can see here, I was able to correct that with reloading. I just want you to see. Sorry. All right, boom, walking. All right. So yeah, I would have to give performance a 7, definitely a 7, because I was actually really impressed. I was expecting to have a lot more bugs and glitches. I was expecting the game to at least crash once, not one crash, no real glitches with dialogue or anything like that, except again for the sound during combat sometimes not coming through. I know some other people have had a bit more problems with the sound and audio. Not me though, but that's just my experience with that. Yeah, the only real con that I would have to say is that there were some muddy textures. But I mean, this game was in development for a while, and you know, supposedly the reasoning behind the muddy textures is because this game was optimized primarily for PS4. I say fuck off with that. I say there's just no excuse, especially if you're gonna release it and charge people $60. Eesh. So yeah, 7 for performance. Quests. Really, there's no pros, I would have to say. In this entirety of this game, there is like, I think 7 quests, and they are all copy and pasted. Every single character you meet, it's always the same thing. Oh, I need this, I need that, go get me this, go get me that. You get upgrade, you continue. Rinse, wash, and repeat. You know, some people like that grind. I don't. So for quests, I gave that a 4. Sorry, not sorry, that's just what it deserves. Now, replayability, I would definitely have to, again, say there's no real pros for me. Basically what the replayability revolves around is as you play the game, some of the choices you make, or a lot of the choices you make actually, will raise either a dark aura or a light aura. And depending on which one is higher, you get certain moves, you get certain dialogues, and I believe a different ending. Let's just say, for me, it was not really substantial enough for me to replay it, especially with all the problems in, you know, the foundation of this game. It just did not seem like that fun of a thing for me to do. But if you played this game and you enjoyed it, or you are enjoying it, hey, good news, you have a new game plus right from the start. That is good. You know, I hate the trend now that's going on with game companies, you know, either charging you or putting the new game plus in an update. I feel like that's something that should definitely come out the box. Yeah, that's really all there is for me to talk about in the replayability. If you like that repetitive grind of, you know, copy and paste errors, whatever, yeah, you will have some replayability, because you can unlock more psi abilities, you know, different weapons and yada yada yada. But for me, it was not substantial enough. So replayability. Why can't I say that word? So replayability definitely is a 4 for me. And if I didn't mention in the beginning, again, this is scaled from 1 to 10. So that would bring me to my overall rating, and that would definitely have to be a 5 out of 10. Not great, not bad. Just right in the middle there, you know, just cruising down the middle. I will say though, if this game had released at like $30, it probably would be at a 7. Mind you that all of these ratings are keeping in mind the fact that this game was released at $60. And if you're asking how I got this overall rating, that's simple. That is the average grading out of all 6 of these rating criteria that I have. Yeah, to recap, gameplay is a 6. Fun combat, but it's too weightless. Puzzles, unnecessary. The environment is beautiful superficially, there's variety, and there is environmental dangers. But it's a copy and paste galore with a lack of creativity for loot locations, roundabouts for suits to explore said areas with environmental dangers, I should say. Story is a 5. Story is a 5. Again, for its attempt at being unique and somewhat creative, but also for its incessant narration, and that, in my opinion, only serves to fluff game time. and it has no other real benefit. And the fact that the dialogue sliders for turning down the frequency of the narration and the gibberish does absolutely nothing. Changes nothing, at least from what I've experienced. And I played half the game, the last half of it, with the narration set to 0 and the gibberish set to 100. So performance is a 7 because, you know, again, for today's standards, this launch, the playability, I cannot say playability. The playability of the game was really solid. Like, I only experienced a handful of bugs, you know, and nothing really too game breaking. Actually, nothing game breaking at all. And then, you know, for the muddy textures, yeah, that should not have happened. So yeah, 7 for performance. Quests, get a 4. No pros. Copy and paste galore. Rinse, wash, repeat. Replayability, again a 4. No pros. For me. And yeah, mainly because the light and dark aura thing isn't enough for me to play this game again. So yeah, if you like this review, you want to see more, please like and subscribe. If you want to see the full gameplay, please follow my please visit my Twitch, twitch.tv/AndySpeaks_. Let me know what you think. If you have any critiques, any opinions, please let me know in the comment section below. I would love to hear your opinions. Love to see why you hate this game, why you like this game, why you're kind of like me and you're on the fence with this game. So, yeah, I gotta work on my outros. Thanks. Take care.